So I had to figure out how to differentiate myself and how do I sell? How do I be successful?
Mm.
And one of the easiest things to do, which for some reason we see as a struggle, I think, in our industry, is being responsive, calling people back, making sure they're not waiting for you any extended period of time. Even if you don't have an answer, call them back and let them know you're working on it. So many times, it was kind of one of my, it's a cliche. People say it all the time. And I did it. I didn't go home if there was a call that I needed to make, or I made sure I made that phone call on the drive home. Even when I didn't know, I'd make that call. And sometimes I knew I'd probably get a voice message and I just have to leave a message, but I always wanted the customer to know I'm calling you back. I'm letting you know I'm working on it. I haven't forgot about you. And it made me a pretty successful salesperson.
Hello, and welcome to the Elevator Careers Podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group. I am your host, Matt Allred. In this podcast, we talk to the people whose lives and careers are dedicated to the vertical transportation industry to inform and share lessons learned, building upon the foundation of those who have gone before to inspire the next generation of elevator careers. Today, our guest is Jeremy Metzger, CEO of Axxiom Elevator. Jeremy graduated from Penn State and joined the elevator industry with Kone as a sales rep with his first assignment in Tampa, Florida. After Kone, Jeremy spent over 15 years at Otis in multiple management roles, and following Otis, Jeremy spent 2 years as COO of Oracle Elevator. In 2023, Jeremy became one of the founding partners of Axxiom Elevator. Jeremy is excited about the future and is looking forward to partnering with independent owners who are seeking the support of a partner to help them take their businesses to the next level. This is part one. Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Matt, great to be here. Appreciate the time.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, and like I was saying a little earlier, it's just kind of funny, being in the industry for a while. I've been recruiting for a while, and looking at some old notes and that I tried to recruit you to some job, 10 or 12 years ago is it's funny, but it's also, I don't know, there's some satisfaction in knowing that, we can build relationships, talk to some of the same people, and then, years later, talking again, it's a different conversation. So,
no, absolutely. I think that's part of the elevator industry, right? We tend to stick together and stick it together for a long time. I know there's quite a few people going back to my days starting at Kone when I was in the training program, and I still talk to a lot of those individuals. There's a lot still in the industry, and I think it's somewhat unique about the elevator business is that you can really form relationships that extend for a very long time.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about those early days. How did you get started with Kone?
So they came to I'm a proud Penn State grad, so
Okay.
they came to Penn State and did the recruiting process. And I think like any young college kid just finishing up, I was really excited about my first career opportunity, and kind of had had a business marketing sales background, wanted to get into management through school. So started looking at a number of different sales opportunities and pre-management opportunities. And Kone, I think in Kone's job description, they talked about you got a laptop. So back then, back in the late 90s, I was pretty excited. Holy cow, I get a laptop. That'd be great. So but no, we had a great group of recruiters at that time for Kone. I always go back to the Kone days of I thought they did a really good job of finding individuals that had the right mindset coming out of college, looking to start a career. And so I think I was in a class of 20 or 25. Got to move out to beautiful Quad Cities area for about 5 or 6 months and check Iowa off the list of working in Iowa for a little bit of time. And yeah, great experience, but haven't really looked back. It was the right decision for me that has kind of went through quite a few years now, 25 plus years now.
Yeah. Now, I'm just curious, how far apart from being, Montgomery, of course, was acquired by Kone. What was the time difference there?
Well, so when I went there, it was probably very close to when they became Montgomery Kone.
Okay.
It was a hyphenated, or they went with both names at the time. I want to say, so I started there in '97, and I want to say it was somewhere in the mid '90s that Kone purchased Montgomery. So it had been a few years,
Okay.
but I was also there when they dropped the Montgomery name and went with just Kone. So I kind of saw that transition happen.
Yep. Cool. Cool. And I remember going to, I think it was, why is this escaping me? It was Universal Studios in Florida. I think the long walkway, and the it says Montgomery Kone, and
Oh yeah. Yeah,
caught
you
my
still see them
attention.
out there. It was a small little period of time, but you definitely see quite a few units out there that still have the Montgomery Kone tag on it.
Right, right, right. So you joined there as a sales rep. Was that kind of your first role as account management, or?
Yep, exactly. Came in straight as a service sales, what they called it,
Okay.
service sales. So maintenance, repair, learning and dabbling in modernization early on. And my first assignment was down in Tampa, Florida. So I
Oh,
was a Pennsylvania kid moving down to palm trees, which was very exciting for me. And at that time I was engaged, so my wife eventually got to move down there with me. But yeah, we were really learning the business. I think day one, my sales manager kind of gave me a maintenance contract and said, "Here, go deliver this." And I had to drive out to St. Pete Beach and go to a customer meeting that I'd never done before.
wow.
But that's kind of that learning by fire, learning under fire type situation where once you get out in the field, it was always nice. If Kone did a good job, they had that kind of 5, 6 month training program, which
Okay.
got you at least a little bit of knowledge about the business. But you learn more in the first couple weeks of being actually out there doing the job than a couple months in a training facility. So really kind of learned very quickly, the kind of customer relationships and really doing a lot of customer management and ultimately selling, really sitting down, starting to talk to customers about things they could do to improve their elevator performance
Sure.
and kind of learning and enjoying that part of the business was right up my alley. I was
Was it?
pretty much open book. I like to talk. I like to meet new people. I had no issues speaking in front of people or in crowds. The condo board meetings and things like that were always interesting down in Florida, where you got a group of people ready to take you out because the elevator door closed too slow
I was
or
going to ask
something
you
like
about
that.
that. Yeah. Did you ever meet any hostile crowds that were like, you're getting it?
Oh, well, yeah, you definitely had to. I mean, again, especially down in Florida where there's quite a few condo associations, and you go in when they're ready to tear your head off, but you go out, you hope with a modernization sale or a couple
Sure.
door operator upgrades or something that helps the performance of their elevators for them. So yeah, it was a great learning experience and really kind of got me entered into the business of having a good solid knowledge. And I think the service sales side of the business really did give you a more rounded approach to the business, because you
Sure.
also obviously had a lot of people that would come out of training with just the new equipment side. And that's what they focused on. And again, great part of our business. But we kind of on the service sales side had a lot of different things with repair mods and obviously the maintenance side. You learned about a lot of different types of business lines and how to make those successful, and really how to sell directly to a customer versus a contractor or somebody that affects. So I was pretty happy that I chose that path and really learned that side of the business. I think it helped me move into management down the road because I
Okay.
had a little bit more knowledge of a lot of pieces of the business.
Okay. Yeah, what was it like to go, find new business? Because that's part of the job too, right? You've got all these
Mhm.
existing customers, but then was that a little intimidating to go find new? I mean, maybe it wasn't for you, but
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, again, I think it is for everybody. I mean, I think it's one of those scenarios where, whether you're cold calling and knocking on doors, just trying to get somebody to give you the time of day to talk to you,
right,
and then finding the right person to speak with, and somebody that could actually pull out a maintenance contract and said, "Yeah, here it is. This is what we have."
right,
you walk into a lot of hotels or places where there just isn't somebody sitting there that's going to have that information. But it was most difficult sale I think we have is that longer term process of trying to actually meet somebody and then cultivate a
Sure.
relationship and then ultimately close. But I can think of many times where just a cold call or a knock on the door led to a nice conversation, led to, okay, I'll come back in 3 or 4 months. And, it might have been 12, 18 months later that you finally had somebody willing to give you a shot at maintenance. And, those, while took the longest, were kind of some of the really kind of best sales you could put together because it really was a longer term. And then back when I was starting in sales, Kone, we didn't have commission. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
we were just a straight, you had a base salary and you sold to sell. I mean, it was what it was about. It wasn't about more money. It was about that's your job.
Right.
Go sell and let's keep the business moving and growing. And obviously we still had metrics to reach and we still had
Sure.
quotas and things like that. But yeah, it was much more, the sell was the reward, that
Right.
was
Right.
the
Right.
incentive to getting that signature. So
So
it was,
you obviously you were in the business when commissions started to become more of a thing. How do you think that has changed the nature of the sale or the business, or has it?
well, I think, you have to, on the management side, I think you have to be very careful with how they're structured, how your commission programs are structured, because you certainly, I've seen lots of different plans throughout my career and, some of which, you can tell like, well, if I knew the sales rep or if I was a certain very, very, coin driven type of salesperson,
Sure.
which is nothing wrong with, by the way, I'm actually a big fan of individuals who do that because we want you to sell and we want you to be motivated both by the sale, but by making the money, because that's what's good
Sure.
about it. But if there's an area where somebody can maximize the most money potential, we tend to see people trend that way. And so you've got to be careful because you have to have a balance of every type of work that you need to
Sure.
have. And for us now, kind of in the independent world, but it's the same for everybody, whether it's one of the OEMs or any independent. Maintenance is key. We always want to grow our
Right.
maintenance base, so you need to and want to have everybody focusing on maintenance. But like I just said, it's probably one of the more difficult sales. So it takes longer, it takes a lot of time, and salespeople like to kill, right? They want to get the sale and they want to get it done. So you can get that in repair, you can get that in
Right.
modernization a lot quicker. So you've got to balance kind of the programs out to make sure that individuals can get incentivized for the activity, but also put emphasis enough on the right activities that you want for your business.
Okay. That's good. That's good. And part of the reason I asked that question is I have a client that's a little more, maybe a little more traditional, old school, and they still don't do, sales commissions. And they were just saying, some of the risks of, if you could incent the wrong behavior, and it can kind of work
Yeah.
against you if you're not really careful. And so they're like, nah, we'll just skip it for now.
Yeah, you definitely can. I think the one thing about the elevator industry is, it's not a sole commission. Typically, it's not a sole
Right.
commission business, right? So sales reps have a base salary for the most part, and
Yep.
part of that base salary is the account management side. There are things that need to get done on a day-to-day basis that don't generate commission opportunities. So I've had that conversation with many sales reps over the years when you get the complaint of, hey, I'm supposed to be selling and you got me doing paperwork. And I say, well, I understand there is some of that goes along with the job, and that's why there's a base salary versus no base and just straight commission. Because
Sure.
believe me, if I was on 100% commission, I certainly wouldn't want to be loading a customer into my operating system. I'd want to be out selling full time. But I think that's the balance we have in the industry. At least most companies that I'm aware of still have some type of base salary.
Yeah. Agreed. Yep. So I'm curious, who are some of the biggest mentors for you early on to kind of help you, that really made an impact for you?
Yeah, so my first sales manager was a gentleman named Bill Motley. Bill, it was a 30-year person when I joined the industry, so had a lot of experience and, definitely put me under his wing. and help me along the path of learning, and maybe learning a couple bad habits too, like a good old seasoned elevator guy. He had some tricks of the trade that I probably should have maybe shied away from, but we were much more hands-on back then, at that time. Safety, not that safety wasn't there, but it certainly wasn't as emphasized as it was now. I was doing things like, checking voltage on controllers and doing things that probably I shouldn't have been doing, with my skill level. But, he was an ex-mechanic, understood the business and really knew how to do things. And so in hindsight, I certainly would not recommend that for anybody out there, but, you did tend to do a little bit more and get a little bit more hands-on. Unfortunately I think for all of us, Bill actually went back in the field after a period of time, and ultimately, was killed in the field. So, a terrific man, an incredible guy who really knew the business, and ultimately the elevator industry, which we all should know and be aware of, is extremely hazardous and has lots of hazards. Unfortunately, it took his life. But these are some of the lessons that I think I've learned over all these years: is you can't take anything for granted, and it's why safety. I give kudos to Otis. I spent a lot of time at Otis. They've really taught me a lot about safety. They have a great safety program, and now, like with our company, we certainly are seconding that mentality of we have to have safety as a prime part of our business. And as we're rolling out new safety items and new safety bags and programs, it's become, we want that to be one of our key metrics as well.
Yeah, you mentioned that safety, wasn't maybe taken as serious in the early days. What was it that, was there an event? Was there a moment where you were like, oh, wow, I really need to take this more serious?
Well, I think that as time, I think the industry changed. We saw a lot of industry change, and I do think that Otis really drove that. They were one of the first to really seriously look at safety, and it's not that Kone didn't have safety or anybody else didn't have safety, but we had programs in place. We certainly had tools, and we had gloves and all the things that you needed to have, but it just wasn't a topic of discussion as much at that time in the start of my career. And then after I left and went to Otis, I left Kone and went to Otis and realized, well, okay, they do emphasize it a lot more here.
Right.
And so I just think they may have been the trendsetter of that, at least with the major companies. And ultimately, everybody fell in line because it was the right direction for the business. And so I think everybody fell in line and said, yeah, we all should be doing this. And and I've talked to mechanics from all the different major companies and independents, and so I think that the majors are all now doing a very good job of promoting safety. And I think through Elevator Contractors of America, through ECA, we're a member of ECA, and they do a great job of promoting safety and making sure we have it. I think the IUEC does a great job of promoting safety, and they've certainly fallen in line as well to say, yeah, these are our members. We want companies to keep us safe. And so, again, I deal with John Herbert down in the Miami local, and he's on us like, where's our safety bags? Where's all the safety equipment? We want to make sure our guys are safe. So, we like that's all encompassing in the industry.
Good. No, and I've seen just in the time I've been recruiting in the industry that more and more say I just hear it. I hear it from more people, and I do believe that a lot of people really, take it very seriously. And I mean, I've heard some stories from some older mechanics, and stuff that just kind of blows my mind at some of the stuff that they would do, and most of the time get away with it. And that's the
Well, and that's the thing about safety. One thing I've told, I can't tell you how many rooms of mechanics that I've stood in front of, and I've said, guys, usually people get hurt because they're trying to do something above and beyond. They're trying to do something, whether they're trying to do it a little bit quicker. Right. They just want to get it done, whether that's, hey, my supervisor's pushing me to make sure I hit my hours on this job, whether that's, hey, I got dinner with my wife after this. I got to get out of here quick. And all of a sudden, I don't want to take the extra, flight of stairs, or I don't want to, do a couple extra things to make sure I do it the safe way. And then somebody gets hurt. And so, we always talk to guys, don't ever do something that puts you in an unsafe situation, and think, well, it's for the company, or I want to do something to get it quicker or get it done better,
Right.
or do something that we do not want that. Like, we want you to be safe. We want you to go home. Again, I've been part of personally multiple serious accidents and fatalities that I know were absolutely avoidable. And I don't like to sit in a hospital room with one of my guys or girls, and I don't want to ever be in a situation where I've got to meet with the family and say, I'm sorry what happened. And so everybody needs to just make sure they put that first in their business.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. So a couple more questions on kind of your early career, and then I want to shift gears over to your current adventure. I guess one of the questions to ask is what would you say is one of the biggest lessons you learned early on that you really feel like has led to or really contributed to your success?
Well, I'm starting out in sales. I think there's some certain people that really have a knack, right? They really are able to sell, and for whatever reason, people gravitate to them, and they want to buy from that individual. Unfortunately, I didn't have great hair. I had a couple of things that just didn't make me stand out as, hey, I got to buy something from this guy. So I had to figure out how to differentiate myself, and how do I sell? How do I be successful?
Sure.
And one of the easiest things to do, which for some reason we see as a struggle, I think, in our industry, is being responsive, calling people back, making sure they're not waiting for you any extended period of time. Even if you don't have an answer, call them back and let them know you're working on it. So many times, it was kind of one of my, it's a cliche. People say it all the time. And I did it. I didn't go home if there was a call that I needed to make, or I made sure I made that phone call on the drive home. Even when I didn't know, I'd make that call. And sometimes I knew I'd probably get a voice message and I just have to leave a message, but I always wanted the customer to know, I'm calling you back. I'm letting you know I'm working on it. I haven't forgot about you. And it made me a pretty successful salesperson to be able to do that. And it really transcends into so many other things
Sure.
within, whether it's business or life, right? Is always keep that in front of you, keeps that kind of next step, know what you're going to do next, and have a plan for it. Because the more that I was able to make sure customers knew that they were important to us, make sure employees know that you're important to us, and always return phone calls, make sure you're discussing with everybody what's going on. I've told everybody within my current business, or any time I'm in a management role, please, here's my cell phone number. Call me whenever you need something, and I'm going to call them back.
Right.
Sometimes it might be a few hours, but I don't leave too many phone calls open overnight or over 24 hours. But some of my guys now get a little worried when I'm calling them back at 9 o'clock at night, and I'm like, sorry, I just finally got time to call you back, but I wanted to call you back to make sure there wasn't something that really needed to get done. So I guess that's kind of a lesson learned that I would hope people would take away, is just always be on top of that and make sure people know that you're not forgetting about them.
Well, I liked what you said. I mean, you said a minute ago, know that they're important, right? It's not just that I'm returning your call. It's that the message I'm sending to you is you're important enough for me to call you back, whether it's, later for me, or, that you are important is a strong, powerful message to send. And by being on top of that, you send that message.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And again, I think we've certainly adopted that philosophy within our business. We know our customers are why we're here, and
Yeah.
I think it's part of I think any good customer service is to realize that yeah, customers have questions, customers have problems. You need to address these issues, and the more you make people wait, the more you don't have answers for them, is the longer it just more upset people can get. So
True.
being quick, being able to talk, and being responsive, I think, are very important.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for, so I guess the last question on this portion that I wanted to ask you is, what would you tell somebody who's starting out brand new? Maybe they're graduating from Penn State and getting
Mhm.
recruited and know zero about this industry. What advice
Yeah.
would you give?
Well, one, it's a terrific industry that's going to kind of suck you in and keep you in it for probably your whole career. I started right out of college. I had a couple quick little stints outside of the industry, but it always kind of pulled me back in. And so it's one of these businesses that I think you become very fond of, and you really like to stick with it. It's not it's a niche industry where you once you learn about the business, it's very comfortable. I can't tell you how many people have said, "Hey, I don't even think about elevator service. Oh, wow, that's interesting. I don't even think about it." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's kind of the good thing, right? I hope you don't, because if you are, there's probably something wrong in your building or an elevator, and
Sure.
we want to keep them running and keep them kind of hidden in the back so people don't have to worry about it." But for younger people or just people looking for a career change and look for something different, if you're willing to kind of put in the work to learn, some of the technical aspects of it, you don't need to be an expert. I tell everybody the last thing you want is me working on your elevator. I know enough to be dangerous and ask a mechanic a feyou questions. Did you check this or did you check that? And half the time they laugh at me and say, yeah, I did that. We're fine. But still, you learn the business, you learn the terminology, you learn a lot of the lingo that goes along with talking to customers and making sure, because your customers can look at you as the elevator expert, regardless
Right.
of 1 year, 10 years, or 50 years in the business. So you want to be able to do that, and you want to be able to say, it's okay if I don't know, I'm going to find out the answer for you and come back, and just come in with an open attitude and be ready to kind of be humbled from time to time when you're trying to learn new things, but also, as long as you work hard and you do kind of the little things that to make you successful, the sky's the limit. And I think it's really a great industry that's going to continue to grow. They're not going to stop installing elevators, and they're not going to stop maintaining elevators. So we've got an industry here that's fairly well protected from a lot of the ups and downs of the economy and the issues that are out there. And so it really does make it a pretty safe harbor for a career.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate you being on with me today. It's a lot of fun to get to know you a little bit better and talk about your career, your business, and wish you the best as you keep building it.
Well, I appreciate everything you do. I think this is a great outlet for people to discuss and learn a little bit about the industry. Even for those who aren't in the industry, maybe learn a little bit about something else. So thanks for what you're doing. And again, great to spend some time with you today.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Elevator Careers Podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group, a leader in elevator industry recruiting. You can check us out online at elevatorcareers.net. Please subscribe, and until next time, stay safe.